Hi everyone, my name is Amasha Samarasinghe and I'm joined today with Yevan David. He has made history in Sri Lanka by winning an international karting event. He's the first Sri Lankan to win an international karting event. Hi Yevan, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm all right.
All right.
Hello, everyone. Yes.
So, you have made history in Sri Lanka by winning round one of the 2021 Champions of the Future karting race in Belgium. So, how does that make you feel like winning that title?
Well, it was actually a qualifying heat before the actual final race, and basically, um, it was a great race. I was getting quicker and quicker and quicker as the race went on, and then on the last lap, I made the move for the win. And at this time, I was just thinking to get past the person ahead, just to get that position. And then once I got ahead, I realized I was in the lead and that I had won the race. So
Mhm.
that feeling was surreal. I couldn't believe it.
That's really great. So, I mean, what was going through your head, especially in those last couple of minutes, when you made it to second, and then eventually when you overtook Keanu Bloom? What was going through your head? I saw a clip of that, and it looked really intense. So, tell me a bit of what you were feeling and what you were thinking at that moment.
Well, with about 3 laps to go, I was in third place, and the person in second, Keanu Bloom, had made the overtake on my teammate who was in the lead. So then I knew I needed to get past my teammate as soon as possible because I knew I was quicker and I could challenge for the leader. So with 2 laps to go, I made my move on my teammate, and we worked together. On the last lap, I was catching the leader, catching, and with about three corners to go, I knew I was right behind him. So I was just thinking, okay, let's try and get ahead. I know all the knowledge. I know what to do. And then into the last corner, I just got alongside, went ahead. And like I said, I was just thinking, let's just get this position. Then once I got ahead, I realized I'd won. And at the time, I didn't even know that I made history.
That's really great. I mean, to achieve such a feat at such a young age. But okay, so tell me a little bit about this race. So, have you taken part in this race previously, or was this the first time?
Yeah, this is the first time I've competed in this race, and it was a bit unfamiliar at first, like to the normal races that I usually do. But most of it is still the same. The racing, the close to close battles, like it's all the same. But it's just still I've been taking a while from the start of the year to get used to Europe and these kind of things. But now I'm settled down and it's gotten a lot better.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so tell me a little bit about how you train. So, what's your training schedule like, and what do you do in training?
So usually I train after like a day after the race. I usually rest and do some stretching, do some mobility like that. Then during the week before the next race, I train. I just preparing, getting ready for the next week. Training as hard as possible. And then once it's the start of the next week, I just try to prepare my mind as much as possible. Just get ready to look forward. So most of my training is done before the race, not during the race.
Right, yeah, of
Weekend.
course. You need to be prepared. So, has the COVID-19 pandemic affected your training at all, or has it been okay?
Well, it hasn't affected it too much, just because at the end of 2019, I got this fitness coach who gave me um, daily workouts online. So since then, he's just been giving me exercises to do every day. So I'm still doing that now. So COVID-19 hasn't really affected it. I've still been doing it at home. Just just keep training, keep practicing, and then be ready for the race.
Okay, so I mean, you talk a lot about fitness training and all of that. So, how important is fitness training, especially when it comes to karting and your races?
Well, definitely, it's very important because you need you need the strength to last throughout the race, throughout the weekend as well. So like it requires a lot of preparing, a lot of training, and it's not just one part of the body, it's the whole body, your neck, your arms, your legs, your core. So it's a lot of training to do. And most people, like, they train the body a lot, but they don't really train the mind that as usual, because it's a lot harder to train the mind, obviously. So usually body training is very, very important. But then as you look deeper into it, mental training is also quite important.
Yeah, of course. So it sounds like you have a really intense training program set out for you. Um, so I saw in
Yeah.
a different interview that you had done that you had started sim racing. So tell me a little bit about what that's like.
So at the start of 2020 last year, when the global pandemic started, we didn't really know what to do because there was no races going on, and I wanted to race. So we got a simulator at my house. I started driving online with other people. I started to join races, and then throughout the whole year, I just got better and better at sim racing. Towards the end, I got a few wins, a few podiums. So sim racing is definitely very different to real racing in the sense that sim racing, it's more strategical, it's more like non-contact racing. It requires a lot more concentration, but the driving aspect, actually taking the corners and knowing when to brake and accelerate, is almost exactly the same to real life. So the racing part is definitely different, but the driving part is quite similar.
Right. So I mean, is the adrenaline rush still the same even when it's on sim or like I mean, there's a difference in the environment, obviously, but like, how different is it actually?
Well, on the sim, it's usually before a race. Like last year, I got a little bit tense, a little bit nervous, but in doing the race, the rush was so fun. Getting past people, looking behind us, we are working together to get to the front. It's still like a big rush. So like the feeling and the adrenaline from sim racing to real racing is actually quite similar, surprisingly.
No, that's really interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
So like, have you gone for any races after the whole pandemic situation? Like, have you been to any real races recently?
Yeah, after the global pandemic in 2020, obviously 2020 I didn't do any races just because the pandemic was really bad, and then I came out here in January, and then since February I've been racing here, and since then I haven't been doing any sim racing just because I have a race almost every 2 weeks. So it's like the complete opposite to last year. Last year it was just sim racing. This year it's just real racing.
Oh, right. So, I mean, did the fact that you couldn't really race in real life, has it affected you at all this year when you started again? Or was it just like a really smooth slip back to the normal?
Definitely I was a bit rusty at the first race. I still had to get used to racing with other people in real life. I needed to get used to um, the starts as well. They're very different. But then after about 3 or 4 races, I actually got quite used to it, and I was really fast. So it took a little bit of time, but now I'm ready, and all the rust has been shaken off.
That's really great. So in terms of races in general, do you see any difference in between like the way the races are conducted, especially between like pre-COVID-19 and now? Do you see like a big difference, or is it essentially the same?
Well, before COVID-19, it was obviously normal, no masks, no social distancing. Anyone could come to the track. Now, only two parents can come for each driver to the track. No spectators allowed. You have to wear a mask at all times. So, it's still a little bit different in the paddock. The environment is a bit different, but like when you're racing, it's exactly the same. You still see all your family watching from the grandstand. You see all the mechanics. So it's still like the same feeling and adrenaline in the car, but outside it just feels a little bit different.
Yeah. But it's great that I mean, the core of it is still the same, so it's all
Yes.
good. Okay, so tell me a little bit about what a regular day in your life is like. So from like the beginning to the end, what do you do on a regular day?
On a regular day without racing, usually I wake up, I make myself some breakfast with some eggs and bread. Then usually I do a daily workout, or usually I have to get a COVID test in advance to go to a country for a race. And then after that, I usually do some gaming, do some simulator with my friends, not professional races. And then I have lunch. After that, it's just a bit of relaxing, a bit of homework that I have to do as well, and then dinner. And then after that, it's just relax, play some games, and finish. So during the day, it's quite normal, like a normal average person at home. But then once it comes to race week, that's where it gets quite different.
Okay, so what's an average day during a race week then? What does your day look like then?
So usually before the day before I leave to another country for a race, which is actually today. Tomorrow I'm going
Oh,
to France. Yes, and so today I had to get a COVID test in the morning to go to France tomorrow, and then during midday I did a bit of homework because I needed to get some work done since I couldn't do it on the weekend because I had the race, and then I did some exercising, getting prepared, and now obviously I'm on the interview, and then after this I'm gonna do some packing, get all my stuff ready for the weekend, and then after I've done that I'll probably just relax, double check, and in the morning go.
right. I mean, you mentioned you had to like get some work done, studying and all of that. I mean, you're still 14, right? So, and you're schooling. So, I mean, how do you
Mhm.
manage your schoolwork, especially with all of this? Because it sounds like you have a really busy schedule. So, how do you manage to balance all of this?
Yeah, at 13 actually. I turned
Oh, I'm
14
so
in 2 months.
sorry.
All good, all good. And usually, like at the start in March, it was very hard to manage. I was struggling a bit. Then I got on some calls with my parents. They helped me a little bit. Now it's smooth sailing. We prepared a schedule the whole year, went to do my assignments. So I just need to get as much done as possible now because the next month is going to be very packed. After that, I do the work. So it's a little bit up and down, a little bit hard to manage, but it's still not impossible.
That's really great to hear. And it's really impressive how you're keeping on top of everything going on. So tell me, at which age did you start karting?
I started in 2014 when I was 6 years old. My dad took me to the karting track and I tried karting for the first time. And it sort of just clicked in my mind. So I just asked my dad if I could get my own go kart and start racing. Since then, I've been practicing every weekend. And then in 2015, I did my first professional race when I was 7. And yeah, since then, I've just been racing, racing, racing.
Oh wow, that's really great. I mean, it's really great that you found something that you're so passionate about at such a young age. And yeah. Okay, so tell me a couple of your most memorable moments as a racer. So maybe like your top three
Oh,
most memorable moments.
probably my top three. Number one was when I think number one right now is probably when I won the heat and made history, and then number two would probably be when I won the championship at 10 years old in 2017, and I'd become Asian champion. And I just realized the whole year I put in hard work, and then finally I won the championship. So it was just a great feeling. That was my number two. And then number three, I haven't really thought about this, but one of my good races was earlier this year when I had when it was only my third race this year, and it was a very hard track, very unfamiliar track, and I still went from about 15th place and finished sixth. And so that was a good feeling. Everyone was happy, so that was good. That was probably my top three.
Oh wow, I mean that's a really impressive feat. Um, okay, so I mean I saw this other article that referred to you as Sri Lanka's hope for F1. How does that make you feel? Do you hope to race in F1 in the future?
Yeah, I definitely hope to F1. It's my dream, and it's reading those kind of messages. It makes me realize like I have a lot of supporters back in Sri Lanka that believe in me and know I can do it. So that just pushes me forward, and like I'm working as hard as I can to try and make it to F1. It's obviously a hard road, bumpy road, but eventually I think we can try and get there. But it's going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifices.
Definitely. It's definitely a hard road, but like you said, you have a ton of supporters back home in Sri Lanka, so that's one thing I think you won't have to worry about. And I know from what you told me about your schedule and the training that you're doing, it sounds like you're really, really putting your heart and soul into this. So I'm sure you'll do great, and you'll be able to achieve all of your dreams. Um, okay, so but before we get to F1, what are your plans for the immediate future?
Well, this year I'm planning to just stay here in Europe for the whole year and race professionally in karts. Next year I go into the 15 to 30 years old category and do 1 year in that. And that will basically prepare me with the experience to then go into Formula cars, the proper cars in 2022. So right now I'm just aiming to get prepared for 2022 when I aim to test or race cars then, and then after that it's Formula 3, Formula 2, and then eventually Formula 1, but it's definitely going to be hard. So just right now, Formula 4 in 2022 is the immediate plan.
Oh, perfect. That sounds really great. Okay, so I think that's definitely your plan for the future as well, because you want to become a Formula One racer.
Mhm.
Okay. So I mean, do you have any other aspirations other than becoming a racer, or like is that something you've never really thought of, and racing is that all you want to do in?
Well, before I started racing, I had a few things in mind, but they weren't really something I could commit to. But then once I found racing, I just knew from 8 years old that I wanted to do this. So it hasn't changed. I would still just wanted to do racing. So no other aspirations, just committed to racing.
Of course, I mean, of course, when you're passionate about something, you can't just flip over to something else. So that's really
Yes.
great. Okay, so who is your role model in the world of racing?
Well, right now it's probably Max Verstappen. He's just taken the lead of the Formula One World Championship. He's an inspiring guy. Consistent, right mindset, and he inspires me. I've met him before about 3 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and he's a great guy. Yeah, I just want to be like him. Winning a Formula One like that.
Oh wow, that's really sweet. And okay, so I think I just have one last question for you. So you have achieved so many great feats at such a young age. So what is the one thing you keep telling yourself to keep yourself motivated?
Well, probably one thing is I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep working hard. Last 3 to 4 years, I've been working so hard, trying to push the limits as much as possible, to try and come out to Europe as soon as possible. Now I'm here in Europe. It's all paying off. I'm living the racing life with races every 2 weeks. So, hard work it definitely does pay off. So I'm not going to give up.
Yeah, you definitely shouldn't give up because you're doing so great, and I'm
Thank you.
sure that there's an incredible future for you. So it was really great having you join us for this interview today, and I had so much fun talking to you. Um, and definitely have a safe flight today when you fly to France. And
Yes.
you can be sure of the fact that everyone back home in Sri Lanka will be rooting for your success. So good luck on all of your future races. And it was so much fun having you on board. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right.